Purpose of this tutorial is to explain basic setup for the value write block. So before you get started, you have to have somewhere to be able to write your data. That would be to the Extensim database. If you do not have database tables set up already, you need to do so before you start. So you'd go to database and either create a new database or edit, go down to your database and open that up. You should see a number of tables in there. The table that we're going to be using is the simulation output table. So to make sure that the output table is properly configured, you want to edit your field properties, or edit your table properties rather. And a key point here is you want to make sure that when you do your runs that you're not seeing stale data that is left over from some other set of runs. So it's really important to make sure for your output tables only that you delete all records on the first run in a multi-simulation run. Now that we've verified that we have our database table set up properly, we'll show you how to connect it to the write block. So double click to open up the write block properties. And we want to go to the write data tab. We have to link it to the database. We already looked at that database, but it's not properly associated with this write block yet. So when we open up, we will see that we have a choice of only one choice of database here. So we're going to select our database. And then we're going to select the table that we're going to use. In this case, we're using the output table. Now we're going to select which field we want to write to. In this case, I'm just going to select writing to one field. I could select writing to multiple fields, in which case I will see multiple field connectors being used rather than the one that I see now. So writing to one field, just the zombies dead. Okay, so now that I have that, I need to decide which database record to write to here. Well, you'll notice that there's no entries. Remember, the records are the rows inside the database, and there's currently no rows in there. So there's nothing for me to choose at this point. This is where we get to the options. Now on the options tab, the first thing we need to do is decide when we're doing the writing. And there are reasons to write data during the run, but in this example, we're just going to write the data at the end of the run. Now, for most purposes, it doesn't matter whether you choose which option you choose as far as writing data at the end of the run. Normally, you want to replace the destination data, and that is the default alternative. The other thing you want to be sure you check is record index is run number. So now Extensim does let you explicitly control through external connectors which row you want to write into, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to let Extensim do its thing automatically. The other thing is it's handy. You don't necessarily know ahead of time how many rows you'll need. So if you just expand the number of rows automatically, it makes it easier for you to do that. So then we're going to go back to our write data, and everything should be filled out and ready to go. So we click OK, and then we're going to pull in the data that we wish to write, which in this case is the number of zombies that die. And let's go ahead and run and show that this works. So when we look at the data inside the write block, we're going to see now that we have one row of data and that 2 zombies have died. If we want to verify that multi-run simulation is working, we're going to go to Run Simulation Setup, and we're going to ask Extensim to do 3 runs. Okay, now that our 3 runs are done, I have 3 different rows of data. It just so happened that all of them have 2 zombies dead, but that, again, this is random number generation. So depending on the settings, that's not necessarily an issue. And we verified that we're actually running into multiple rows of data. So this concludes the tutorial.